Okay, everyone, it's now 10:30. It's time to start our public forum. Prior to starting the public forum, I would like to do a welcome. Here goes. Welcome to the CPC Annual Public Forum. My name is Neville Richen. I'm the acting chairman an elected member of the Community Preservation Committee. Since the inception of the Community Preservation Committee, we have granted over $50 million, which has been used for funding over 250 island projects. And if you have an island project, if so, we are accepting grant applications for fiscal year 2026 from now through September 9th for the following categories. Correct. September 6th for the following categories: historic preservation, affordable housing, and open space and recreation. Applications have to be hand-delivered to the CPC office at 7C Hanover Lane. And submissions for grant applications have to be submitted to the office by September 6th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Before moving forward, I would like to, we have a tribute to Ken Beaugrand. Few people were as dedicated to the preservation of Nantucket, of the Nantucket community as Ken Beaugrand, NPT's longtime board member, a founding member of the Nantucket Community Preservation Committee. Ken understood that preservation of the island community encompassed far more than buildings. Ken was a passionate advocate for both affordable housing and historic preservation, and his expertise in real estate helped serve both issues. Ken's leadership of NPT, first as president, then as chairman, helped the organization hold the first of many multi-day symposia on historic preservation, starting in 2017. With Ken's wise counsel, NPT navigated the retirement of longtime executive director Michael May at the end of 2019 and the global pandemic in 2020. Ken's enthusiasm for historic preservation resulted in the recruitment of many dedicated board members. Ken looked to the past by planning for the future of the Nantucket community. He will miss his steady hand at the helm. With that said, we have three guest speakers to speak about how CPC grant funding has helped them facilitate their projects. We have with us Joseph Grause, board member for Habitat for Humanity; Carlisle Jensen, executive director from the Egan Maritime Union; Kitty Pochman, executive director from the Linda Loring Foundation. We would start with Joseph.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Joe Grause, I think I know many or most of you, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to the CPC about how your support has helped our mission over many years, but certainly over the 12 years that I've been on the board of Habitat for Humanity. I would also like to add my personal and Habitat's, I guess, corporate remembrance of Ken Beaugrand. He was a great friend of Habitat, and certainly when I first got involved with Habitat as a board member and we were applying for CPC grants, I dealt with Ken all the time. Certainly do Gussie, his wife, from PastCon as well. So my condolences and remembrance of Ken. What I'd like to do here today is give you all a very brief update on Habitat's activities. And Glena, if we can go to the first slide. And all right. Habitat for Humanity in Nantucket has been in existence here on the island since 2001, 23 years. We have built 16 homes to date here on Nantucket. And as you probably all remember from our applications, Habitat builds homes for ownership, focusing on families that are at the 80% average median income and below for Nantucket County. The most recent development project that we have completed is our three homes on Benjamin Drive, which is near off of Surfside Road, and on property that was originally owned by the Nantucket Housing Authority that they conveyed to us. We've completed those homes about 24 months ago, and they were occupied by their families in the first quarter of 2023. They were our 14th, 15th, and 16th homes. One thing I should mention that was very different about those that project and those three homes is they were the first three homes that Habitat did as SHI listed, subsidized housing inventory listed homes that counted towards safe harbor for the town of Nantucket. Prior to that, we had built homes and selected families based on Habitat International rules that didn't qualify as SHI listed properties. Glena, can you back up just one? And the Benjamin Drive project was a duplex, 2 townhome units. They were both about 1,600 square feet, 2.5 bath, 2-bedroom units. This is obviously the duplex. And if we could, Glena, go to the next one, there was a single family home, again, roughly the same size, 1,600 odd square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, 2-bedroom homes. These pictures are a little old. They were taken just before the folks moved in. It's all landscaped and, looks pretty nice today. If we could go to our current project, we were able to work with the town of Nantucket, in part because we did achieve SHI listing for the Benjamin Drive property, and we were able to acquire from the town for $1, 3 building lots on Waite Drive. And it's no good way to point here, but the street that runs sort of from the bottom to the upper right, that's Waite Drive behind the fire department. Tacoma is the street in the lower left that kind of runs downward, if you will, from left to right. The first house on the corner is 20 Tacoma. That's a Habitat home that was built about 8 years ago. Actually happens to be Glena's house. And next to that is 5 Waite Drive, which is actually the last house we built before we started building homes that were SHI listed. And it also happens to be the last house where we directly got our funding from the CPC. I'm sure you're all aware, our funding now comes primarily from the Affordable Housing Trust, although my understanding is we actually use CPC funds that flow through them, since you are focused on 80% at AMI level families. We could go to the next one, Glena. This is a schematic of the project, the Waite Drive project. There'll be 6 dwellings here, be 2 buildings on the right and the left. At the left-hand side is 9 Waite Drive, the right-hand side is 5 Waite Drive. The 2 front, 9A and 5A, are 3-bedroom homes. The little homes that you kind of can't quite see from this view behind are 2-bedroom homes. The 2 bedrooms are about 1,400 square feet-ish, and the 3 bedrooms are a little bit bigger than 1,600 square feet. And those homes are actually under construction today. So if you drive along Waite Drive, the right-hand number 5 A and B are framed and have been shingled. The foundation and I think we're beginning to frame 9B, the 2-bedroom in the back on the left, and then the last house that we're going to be doing in this phase is the front 3-bedroom. We're in the middle of our Affordable Fair Housing Marketing Program. let me rephrase that. We just finished our affordable fair housing marketing program yesterday. The 60 days ended yesterday, and we've had 43 applications that have come in, and we're going to be, over the next couple of weeks, clearing them up, making sure we don't have any income or other issues before we hold the lottery on August 1st. Glenn, if I can just go to the next, just a different view of the project. If you drive by and take a look at these homes, I'm always struck when I see these pictures, because you don't see any of their homes around them, and the perspective that they're drawn in, it looks sort of expansive. This is a very dense development. These homes are all very close together, and in part that was part of the guidance that the select board gave us. They wanted this particular development, if we are going to get the 5,000 square foot lots, they wanted to be able to use the land as efficiently and as effectively as possible. I think the last slide, I guess all I could say is, and I'd be happy to take questions obviously afterwards, we've been partners with the CPC for as long as we've been operating here on Nantucket. There was a recent request that we made of the CPC a couple of months ago. I'm not quite sure the timing, but we had a tag end amount of funding, $49,000, that related to the 3-weight drive project that was seen on an earlier slide. And we appreciate your willingness to reappropriate that and allow us to use it again as sort of tag end funding for the weight drive project that we've got underway today. And beyond that, I want to again thank you for your support and commitment to Habitat over the years. And if there are any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Bill. We'd like to hold the questions if it's all possible. Unless someone has a question to ask again.
Great.
Thank you very much. And Carlisle, Jensen.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm a little shorter here. Well, thank you. Do you have the PowerPoint presentation? Okay, sorry about that. Well, thank you all for having me. I'm Carlisle Jensen. I'm the Executive Director of Egan Maritime Institute. Egan Maritime also owns and operates the Shipwreck and Lifesaving Museum, which is actually what this project was about. So thank you so much for funding our collections project. And I believe this was the first grant we've gotten, so we'll probably be back for more. So get ready for us. So I'm here to talk a little bit about our database and our database collections. And actually, I'm sitting in this room looking at all items within the Egan Maritime Foundation collection, which are all this artwork, this gorgeous artwork that's on the walls. So we have much artwork and we spread it out across the community, so it's fun to see it in person. So Egan Maritime promotes and preserves Nantucket shipwreck and seafaring history. We do that through programs in the classroom, on the water, and at the museum. And a big part of that is bringing history to life. And what we were able to do with this database project was just that. So we can go to the next slide. This project actually started in 2020 when we hired a professional collections manager to come look at what we had in our storeroom. And with that, it was really under this idea that in 2020, we weren't able to welcome people inside the museum. So we were going to bring the museum outside. And to do that, we needed to understand what our collection actually looked like. And what we discovered is that we had about 4,000 pieces of different artifacts, 3D artifacts, photographs and documents that were never properly cataloged. So we realized that it was really time to really take the time and itemize and catalog each one of these items and really discover the history that we had at our fingertips but weren't actually accessing. And that's where the database came in. So we applied for a grant, the database grant, through this wonderful board, and that allowed us to purchase photography equipment, scanners, and then also the conversion of the database that was a software database that still dialed up onto a cloud-based database. So now, over the past year, Tony, who is our collections manager, has been doing a wonderful job photographing, scanning, and properly itemizing each item. So now we have this wonderful online database, which it's hard to think of databases as fun and exciting things because they really aren't, but this actually has been for us. So if you want to go to the next slide. Over the past year, this is sort of the timeline, and we have been able to really internally understand what we have and what we can do, and stakeholders have been really excited. We've actually talked to the folks here about, oh, we have more artwork, could we change it up? Could we see different things? So that's been really exciting. And then now we're getting to a phase where we might actually be able to integrate it online. So say someone wanted to research and understand, oh, my family history, I'm related to like the Stackpoles. What's that history? What's that life-saving history? What is that Nantucket history? All you can do is search in, and then all of this documents, photographs, artifacts would pop up. So next slide. More importantly, this has really benefited our programming and our ability to just work with peer institutions and really make our little museum, which is often, you have to get out there. It's out in Pulpus and maybe might be overlooked, really stand on its own with peer institutions. This includes, over the past year, we've done a really large, if you want to go to the next slide, you can go to the next slide too. This is more fun, but we've done a big reinterpretation of the museum. We took down some walls and we've really reinterpreted the entire boathouse. And this meant bringing a lot of those artifacts that were in our storeroom and not really known to us and not properly cataloged out for display. So if you haven't been out to the museum, you'll be able to see a lot more artifacts. It's much more artifact rich, and there's proper notes on them so you can see what they connect to, and it's very cool. In addition, we've held some public programs. This one is actually the one on the bottom is a collaboration with the Artists Association, where we brought out artifacts, and our public programs team, without having to go to the storage unit and dig through things, was able to select what they wanted to bring out and what could be sketched. So it was a wonderful collaborative program. In addition, you can kind of see in this photo, the camera and the photography equipment that we purchased allowed us to do high resolution images. So now on the walls of the museum is vinyl, and those are actual photos of documents that we had or images that we had in our collection that are up in a higher scale. So it's really created a more three-dimensional look, and none of that would have been possible without this grant. Okay. And, we really see this as a multi-step phase. Obviously, we want to work with the website developer. We want to create the search function. We still have about 1,500 documents and photographs that we need to go through. So Tony is going to be hard at work in the off season making that happen. Once that happens, we really will integrate it into our website and make it so that it is something that the public can access. And then, more importantly, we are planning for the future out at the museum. We are in the middle of a museum master planning session where we're just determining what does that space want to look like, and what is the ongoing maintenance, what are the ongoing capital needs, but also how can we continue to tell the incredible stories and modernize it a little bit. And having an accessible database allows us to do that. So that's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,
Okay.
Kitty Pochman. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Great. Thanks. So I really appreciate this opportunity to come and speak to you about the wonderful grant we received from the Community Preservation Committee. And it's for a resilient restoration project at Long Pond for our property out there. The Linda Loring Nature Foundation became operational in 2007 after the completion of a campaign by the Nantucket Land Council, now the Nantucket Land and Water Council, to raise funds to purchase a conservation easement on the properties. And the CPC made a significant contribution to that successful campaign. Additionally, the CPC has supported invasive species management on our property and allowed us to increase accessibility on the property as well. So we're very grateful for all your support over these years. The mission of the Linda Loring Nature Foundation is to preserve the biological diversity of our 275-acre property and connect people of all ages with nature, to nature through environmental education and research. The three pillars of work that support this mission are conservation and stewardship of our property, scientific research, and environmental education. Our property is located between Nantucket Road and Eel Point Road around the north head of Long Pond. And Long Pond, as you know, is a brackish pond tidally influenced by the Nantucket Ditch, which stretches from the pond west to Nantucket Harbor. In 2020, the board and staff started working on a strategic plan and looking at use of the property and potential facilities development there that would be allowed by our conservation restriction. However, we quickly realized that the property on the shoreline at 90 Eel Point Road would be significantly impacted by sea level rise and storm surge scenarios as expected with future climate change. And even under the most conservative projections, we knew that we could not do anything on that property. And so in keeping with our strategic goals to mitigate threats to native biodiversity, provide in-depth process-based learning experiences, and to work towards becoming leaders in sustainable practices using the most up-to-date ecological and scientific knowledge available, we realized it was essential to revert this site from a developed landscape with invasive plants and ornamental landscape plants to a more resilient native habitat. The generous grant from the CPC will support this restoration project, which we expect will begin later this summer. The project will return the area to a natural state. We've already started to manage invasive species on the site in preparation for the next phase, which is the removal of structures along the pond edge and other landscape features from the project area. Once the buildings are removed, we will be ready to restore the habitat. We're working with Wilkinson Ecological, who have designed a robust plan that will enable us to create a native biodiverse habitat that blends with the surrounding upland sandplain grasslands on the north side and the brackish wetland edge of the pond itself. The plan incorporates a transitional landscape with the influence of brackish water as part of the planting plan. Staff have already started to collect seed from various grassland species on our property in preparation for the planting, and we will amend that by using other plant plugs as well. We're excited how this project integrates the three pillars of our mission. The restoration will enable us to use the project as an education tool, teaching about climate resilience. We will be using the latest scientific research and resources to inform our work. And perhaps most importantly, we will be enhancing native habitats and biodiversity on the island with this conservation project. Once completed, we will also be able to expand our trail system onto the eastern portion of our property. Thank you so much for your generous support.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Linda?
Carlisle, I believe CPC gave money for that building. A long time. You were still in grade school, having known you when you were that big. But I believe we gave money for that building, though the building is not historic. The building housed the artifacts. So we gave money, I don't know, 15, maybe as long as 20 years ago, for that building to be able to house the artifacts without them getting destroyed. It may be air conditioning we added. You have air conditioning there, don't you? Okay, it may be something along those lines, but it was to encapsulate all of the artifacts that you had at that time, which is expanded exponentially. And if you do something recreationally outside, that would be something that the CPC can handle also, because it's not just open space, it's recreation, historic preservation. So I saw that on your screen that you may be planning something for an outside classroom type of thing right next to the creeks. I mean, you can't get better than that. So just think about that. But I really applaud what you've done out there because it's so different than when I was a kid. Very great idea. And Habitat, you're doing a great job. I was on the original board of directors in 2001. 3 years ago. You've done a great job. I applaud you for having 16 units, et cetera, et cetera. And Kitty, I love that area. I just don't do it because I don't want to get bitten by another tick. Thank you. But you guys have done a great job of stewardship out there, and we've been involved with you guys almost from the beginning. So I applaud you. So thank you guys. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Eleanor?
Ditto to what Linda just said. Can you hear me?
Help. Applause and echoing what Linda said in praise of all of your organizations and the work that you do. I have actually, Joe, I was the zoning administrator when you guys came. I think you were, I remember emailing a lot with you. Great project. I'm so glad to see it come to fruition. I'm talking about the Benjamin Drive one. No, Benjamin. They had to modify 40B, and it was there was a lot of work that went into it, and it was. I'm really glad to see it all set. My question for you is, how are you guys doing with getting the sweat equity involvement and the community involvement? And then I have a question for Kate.
The sweat equity, many of you may know that to be a Habitat family, you have to contribute 350 hours of sweat equity towards the home that you ultimately get awarded. And it really has worked out kind of smoothly over the years. We work Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays from roughly 9 till 1 o'clock. Most families, find time to actually participate during those hours. Habitat, to be honest, has been fairly liberal. We count, friends and family pretty liberally. So for the Benjamin Drive project, the three winning homeowners, I think, ultimately contributed 400 or 500 hours each, in part because they would show up with their friends and their kids and their cousins, and
As it should be.
Yeah, and our houses are largely built. I mean, when we first started taking funds, or first started building homes, we focused a lot on volunteer labor, and so some of you may remember it would take 2 or 3 years to get a Habitat house built because we use so much non-professional labor. One of the unsung heroes of our operation is a guy named Rich Hussey, who you may remember got the Dickler Award this year at town meeting. Rich was really the driver back, call it 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, to say, we really, if we're going to be helping the town in terms of its affordable housing activities, 3 years is too long. And in all candor, houses for ownership, we're never going to build as many as, to really address the need that we have here on the island, but we could certainly do a better job. So Rich has really changed our whole building strategy to be more dependent on professional subcontractors and labor. And so getting back to the volunteer issue, so families do more, painting, gardening, occasionally some sheetrock, stuff that isn't, they're not going to cut their fingers off or something terrible. But it has enabled us to do 2 or 3 homes a year. And so the Waite Drive project that I highlighted earlier, the 4 homes are going to be built this year. Those folks will probably be in the fourth quarter. And then we're going to do another marketing program first quarter of 25 to select the last 2 families that'll get the duplexes in the middle.
Excellent. Thank you.
Long answer, but
No, I just was curious to see if you have been able to retain that level of investment, the sweat equity
we
investment.
have. I would say that the one thing that we have to some extent have lost, at least from when I first started 12 years ago, participating in Habitat, is we used to have an army show up on a Saturday or a Friday, volunteer to just do whatever
building.
we were doing.
Yeah.
And because we use so much more professional labor, the amount of volunteer activities has diminished, and that's just a trade-off in terms of getting these houses built more quickly, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
And Kitty, this is sort of a inside baseball question, but are you guys doing hand picking and removal and foliar for your invasive removal? Are you doing machinery? Just curious, the level of we're about to embark on our own project, so I'm just curious.
Sure. We are, speaking of invasive species, there's some right out here. I noticed.
But we're using foliar treatments. There was wisteria that was planted, and it has taken over.
Yeah.
And the only way to get rid of that kind of, growth was to treat it, so.
Right. No, totally understandable. I was just curious if you're using any machinery.
And then
'cause
other
sometimes
things will
there's
be,
marsh masters and
some
so
other
forth.
things will be removed, but the wisteria was the big problem, in terms of invasives.
Well, I know, I love wisteria. I'm from Maryland. I love wisteria, but you can't have it. Can't have
It
it.
escapes, it gets everywhere.
I know. Thank you. No, thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Joe, being a longtime board member of Habitat, I think it's fantastic that you guys have ramped up. I went off the board 5 years ago. You have nearly doubled the amount of houses you've built, which is fantastic. And being, for the most part, or largely for many, many years, 15 plus years, an all-volunteer organization, except for Steve and now, Jennifer and all that. You guys have put so much work into that, especially you, Rich, Jerry, and Steve. So just utterly fantastic work in getting that done. So really, really appreciate it.
Well, I thank you, Tom. I've worked with Tom on our board and some of the other things that I've done in town. But we couldn't do it without the support of the CPC. We couldn't do it without the support of the town. I mean, all of the houses that we've built have been on land that's been, in effect, given to Habitat. I mean, you probably don't know, the under Shy rules, the Benjamin Drive houses and the 6 Waite Drive houses that will be Shy listed, the selling price that the family pays or gets a mortgage from Habitat is set by formula, sort of driven by their income. So the four homes being built this year, the 2-bedroom homes are going to sell, quote unquote, sell for $254,000. The 3-bedroom homes sell for $301,000. So a lot of what the town and you and the affordable housing, you being the CPC and the Affordable Housing Trust is doing is really channeling the subsidy that the taxpayers of Nantucket are putting into this program. And as I said earlier, Habitat's not going to be the solution, but we're certainly going to try to play our part. And we appreciate all the support of everybody across Nantucket, the town, the CPC, the Affordable Housing Trust, and Housing Authority, Community Foundation. I mean, there are many organizations that have really helped us do this work, and it's been a great, speaking personally, it's been a heck of a thing to be involved with. We've really, really satisfying. But thank you all again for your support.
And then Linda, to your point on the Egan building, that sounds like a perfect place for the CPC plaque when we get that going.
We're working on it.
Got it.
I just got one at the Congregational Church.
Got it. Excellent.
Yeah, we are working on it because last year, 2 years ago, voted before Joe went off temporarily and came back. It was Joe and I that were tasked with making sure these plaques start going up, and the Congo Church is actively, they're going to put a nice brass plaque in that front hallway, not on the outside of that building. You really can't do that on the outside of the churches. But the Congo Church just sent it to me as their language, which is fairly similar to what we had voted on several years ago to start asking people to do. Only theirs is even more grandiose, and it's black, and it's a brass. So I'm very happy. That'll be going up with the other historic preservation stuff that's in the Congo Church. And I have the list saved, so Joe and I will start after the summer,
terrific.
start tracking back on people to get the stuff. Many have already done it, Sustainable's done it, other people have done it, but now we got to go back over the 200 projects to make sure that things are done, especially when the latest was at the Methodist Church was maybe being offered for sale. And that was one of our first projects 24 years ago, was the Methodist Church. We've done every inch of that building, including the pillars in the front. And I don't believe they've ever put anything up in there. So if it's going to change hands and it has a preservation restriction, we're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive about making sure people have the signs. So I think we'll handle that, starting after Labor Day and start canvassing where things are. The NHA is going to be easy for me to get them to do it. But otherwise, I think we're just going to have to very specifically go after things.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And Kitty, I'm sure you're offering to eradicate this invasive species out here for the town. We appreciate that. Thank you.
I know, I was going to mention it to Sarah. You might have to just come in here.
Maybe you can have an outside classroom training session over there.
Okay, thank you very, any other questions?
Can I just make,
Yes, go ahead.
thank you. I got it on.
It's on from last night.
Yes, so to Linda's point, yeah, let's get through the special town meeting articles that we've been working on. But first off, I just want to say to Joe, thank you for not fully retiring and sticking around and helping the town. I mean, you've been a huge asset. I just want to say thank you, Ms. Jensen. I just love that you're going to bring that data platform and make it online. It's nothing better than going out there, but still, I think, you know, using the NHA library and researching houses and stuff like that, and photos are just amazing. So the other part of it is my grandfather was a lifesaver, so you have some of his stuff out there, which I love. And Kitty, the one thing I have a question for you is where the bridges are in the ditch, is there any intention of Linda Loring to fix those or put a program together? I know, you know, where there was, I think, 8 feet or 6 feet deep, now it's like 2 feet. Is that, not to put you on the spot, but
See if I can answer this question correctly. Although I should defer to Sarah, who is much more involved in this. I know with the town's resiliency plan,
Yeah.
there is some piece in there about repairing some of those bridges. And that work is not supposed to start for quite a few years,
Yes.
as I understand it.
yes.
So it will definitely impact what's happening out there. If they do put in a larger culvert or put in a bridge, it's going to increase the storm surge and sea level
Yeah.
rise within the pond.
Yeah, when I was on crack, we were talking about the 4 bridges, and I think it was
Right.
125 million for 4 bridges. So, you know, I just know it's kind of hurting your end of the pond, and I think if any way we can kind of help the flush.
We haven't looked into doing anything from our organization yet, but
Okay,
Sarah is on the crack committee.
Yeah, and that was my point, is if we could
Concom.
come to us, please.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, thank you.
Question, stay there. I have a question. There isn't any reason why you can't come to CPC. A, it's access. B, it's open space. C, it's recreation. And it's handicap accessibility, because those bridges are in rough shape. And there's no reason, all of which the CPC is able to fund, even simply handicap accessibility, as you know, because we've helped you with access before.
Right.
You might want to think about, rather than several years off, coming to the CPC. We did, what, 13 historic preservation things this year? I mean, majority of it went to historic preservation.
I may want to phase it too.
Yeah, you can phase it, and that's what I'm saying. You might want to think about making an application in the fall if you know where you want to go.
Okay, sounds
So
great.
rather than putting it off several years, we can do it over 2 years type of thing. So we're waiting.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
That was my
Thank you
point.
for that.
To plant the seed. and
Don't worry
everything
about the
else.
Concom, you come back to the Concom eventually, but yeah, just come get the money.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I would just like to thank all 3 of you for coming. You're wonderful leaders and representatives of your organizations, and the town's lucky to have you. Thanks for sharing your time. We love the projects that we've been helping you with, and I can't help but sit here and think about how happy Ken would be. These are projects that he embraced wholeheartedly and supported over the years, and what a wonderful meeting on the heels of losing our pal, to let him know that we'll all try in some small way to keep going what he loves so much about CPC. So again, thanks for what you do. And I don't have any questions because I'm a big believer in all 3. Thank you.
No. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd first of all just echo Tim's words, acknowledging the contributions of each of you individually in your organizations. I think it's a testament to the sense of community here and a testament to your individual character and determination to make Nantucket a better place. My dad used to say, if you want the world to be a better place, make it a better place. And you're doing that, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I wanted to say individually, Kitty, the Linda Loring Foundation, the property, just, it's such a resource for the community. Really it's like a little piece of gold. So the work that you and Sarah are doing and the rest of your team is important and appreciated. Let's see, Ms. Jensen, so for you, I guess, I think the idea of the database and it going public I think the idea of the database is pretty cool. I'm kind of a techie nerd on that stuff. But I think it's very exciting that there is the level of interactivity and accessibility that the database offers. And I think it's going to be really spectacular to have members of the public be able to access that online. I think, dotting the horizon, that is going to bring up the profile of your organization and probably open more doors in the years to come, which is very interesting, I think, and hopeful. Joe, I got a couple quick comments and a couple questions. First of all, a big proponent of your organization's mission and also the concept under which the sweat equity is applied. I like the idea, used to being a carpenter at one point in my many careers, that you're keeping the sweat equity folks away from saws. That's a good thing. I've had the opportunity to be at the Benjamin properties, and I can just attest that very well done work, turnkey, and your organization's to be commended, and Richard as well. I guess two questions. One is on current need and future need. Can you speak to numbers of individuals on the island who you anticipate are applying, will apply? Is there a trend? Anything you'd like to share on that?
I really, Steve, I don't really have any great statistics to tell you, what is the population of underhoused, families on Nantucket. Just anecdotally, I can tell you that the Benjamin Drive project, which was sort of, selected families about 3 years ago, we had 68 applications for those 3 homes. It ultimately boiled down to about 35 after, you sort of do the screening. Housing Nantucket did a 80% AMI and under project that was owned by a private developer in Richmond Properties. They had 70 applications. This was back in sort of January, February. And now we've gotten 43 applications for this, which we found to be a little low. And we think part of it's due to the fact that we're holding this marketing period, at sort of the height of the summer when a lot of the folks that would be applying for these homes are pretty busy and it's a lot of paperwork. And anyway, we'll see what happens in sort of January, February when we do the last 2 homes. There's a lot of need out there, and and we're not the only entity that's building affordable housing. Of course, Housing Nantucket does similar work for rental properties, and people keep building them, and families keep applying. So I think it's a problem that the town and the agencies like Habitat and Housing Nantucket, we're going to have to keep working on. And again, it all costs money. So fortunately, the town and you and the Affordable Housing Trust have been very generous for both of our organizations. So.
Thanks. This is a two-parter. So your 3-year estimate, 3 arbitrarily selected. What do you anticipate new projects and or number? I understand some of your projects have multiple homes and some of your projects are a single home. Do you have an anticipation of what you are shooting to deliver annually over the next few years?
That's a question we've never been able to answer because we are land poor. And, basically our methodology over the 12 years that I've been on the board has been, we kind of get going on a project, maybe get it 50 to 70% complete, and then we turn back to the political side of things, if you will, and go to, Andrew Vorse when he was the head of planning, or folks on the select board, and try to identify property that we could develop. Right now, we've had some initial conversations with the planning department and folks on the select board, but we don't have identified, okay, here's the next plot of land that we're going to be able to work with. And if we don't have land, everything else doesn't, it starts there. So having said what I just said, the town has been very good, and we've fortunately been able to find building lots, almost every time we get to this point where, okay, we can see the end of the project we're working on. It's time to think about 18 months down the road and, form out the plan for the next building project. I hope that's helpful. So.
Yeah, no, it is helpful because it kind of leads me into my next question. And I think the applicability to CPC is perhaps there's funding for this type of an approach, but acknowledging the town is, constantly challenged with human resources. For me, the idea is a concept of kind of a cost-benefit analysis, acknowledging cost is not the only metric, on delivering a shy list property, number of bedrooms, versus what it cost in other type of models, for instance, through Wiggles Way. And then also in the cost-benefit analysis, so that's a cost metric, and you could use that cost metric measured against other types of town initiatives, Tacoma Green, so on and so forth, both with respect to litigation cost and actual cost anticipated of construction, because then you get a full picture of the cost associated with a particular type of project. I'm just nodding, that's a nod to the fact that a distributed model of delivery of homes is going to, at least with respect to potential litigation, cost a heck of a lot less than a concentrated form like Tacoma Green. So by costing those out in such a way that you include any of the costs currently associated and any anticipated costs, and then doing a simple division of bedrooms, it gives you an interesting dollar comparison that takes these variables into account. So that's the cost side of the metric. And then the other side would be the the benefit side of the cost-benefit analysis would be time for delivery, and other similar type of variables could be quantified. Ultimately, the purpose of that cost-benefit analysis being to determine whether the town would conceptualize a program where they're ramping up the transfer of land to an entity such as Habitat for Humanity, because if it turns out the cost-benefit analysis, which I think at worst, you're going to be on par with any other form of delivering a shy list home. Dollar-wise. Benefit-wise, you're also going to be on par. It's a well worthwhile endeavor. It's important to the community, so on and so forth. So I don't think that there's a net potential loss for quantifying this, but I think the potential benefit is that it could be the food for thought, or actually the data to substantiate the town coming up with a, conceptualizing a plan to implement land transfers actively, predetermined on an annual basis for a few years out, so that you all can be planning. And then the other aspect of that is, so there wasn't a question in there, I think I was just trying to get the idea out.
Yeah, I want to interrupt you, because I think it's going way beyond our scope.
Okay, so,
of
well,
things.
I just want to bring it back, the idea.
But the idea of the CPC,
yeah,
if
if
we
I may.
can't focus in on that.
If I may.
Please.
I get you. The concept is that CPC could be funds for that type of a study if it were determined to be beneficial. The other thing is just please give Richen my best. We miss him at Capital Program Committee.
Well, thanks a lot. And again, thanks to the CPC. We really appreciate your support.
Yes, go ahead.
Perhaps Steve's not aware of it, but we have two $5 million bonds for the Housing Trust, and all funding, generally speaking, for housing, except for individual things. We gave them all that money, as well as money for decades, since we started the Housing Trust. So all that kind of stuff goes through the Housing Trust. But I just want to close in saying that I was Ken's right-hand woman, I was vice chair to him for over 20 years, and I came on almost at the beginning of the CPC, and I will miss him terribly. And I don't know how we're going to go on, but I told Gussie that we would go on and be successful and do what we've always done in his name. And I will miss him terribly.
All right, thank you. In closing, I just want to say one thing. I'm a very proud member of the CPC. Ken was a very, very good friend. I know a lot of us are here, who've been here for many, many years. Even, as you said, you were here in the beginning. And Linda, we all came in when CPC was started. And we're still here. It was very important what Linda said about because I'm just saying I'm very glad that you mentioned that, because that is something you would realize who we are and what we're about. What Linda said about the bond that we have going out, it takes care of those things. But please, just bear with us, and when you come on the committee, you will find out about all of those things. So as you go forward, I was looking at all these projects, and I was there in the beginning. I think Linda spoke very right about the life-saving museum. I think not only the inside, the outside, and I don't remember if it was the lights or a well or something that went outside that we also funded. We funded, so she's right, you're wide open. Yeah. The invasive species that you have, didn't we give funding to someone for a machine that was? Yes, the Marsh Master. You don't have any occasion to ever use that, right?
We actually contracted with someone to come and use that Marsh Master.
Yeah.
They did work on, down by, let's see, the Long Pond, at the far end of Long Pond, they've done it in Hummock Pond, they've done it around our property at 90 Eel Point Road to remove the Phragmites. And also, why am I going blank? Consu Springs, all in there.
Yeah, I know, it
They
was
use
used all of those.
But that's a company from off island that
Yeah.
has come and done
Okay.
that work.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and of course, Habitat, yeah, that's all I can say. I have to leave, unfortunately, and he has to catch a boat, so I have to leave. I don't know if there's any other questions that anyone have, any other statements? Yes?
I just wanted to thank each one of the presenters for taking the time to come and present today and braving through the traffic on Nantucket during this time. So thank you all for attending. I really appreciate your support. And also just wanted to point out that while our office address is 7C Hannaby Lane, our front door is in the Candlewick Complex, which is off of Old South Road, and it runs parallel to Hannaby Lane. We have since put a sign on the door, on the back door of Hannaby Lane, so that if someone happens to come to that door and we don't see or hear them, they'll know to come to the front door. So just wanted to make that clarification for anybody who is looking to submit an application for fiscal year '26. Thank you.
Also, Mr. Chairman, just remind you guys in particular, if you want other people to see your presentations, it is videotaped. So it should be up on YouTube or the town's website, so you can spread it around.
Excellent. Okay, with
Mr.
that.
Chair, I'll second Eleanor's motion to adjourn.
Okay, a motion has been made. A motion has been made and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, thank you so much.
Did you guys move? Or you're still at the same place you were?